campaign is starting off in just about 2 weeks, people. We are getting closer and closer to Knicks basketball, and after looking at the state of New York football this Sunday, I'm even more so looking forward to Knicks basketball. But nevertheless, tonight's show, we got an action-packed show, man. We saved the best for last. We've been doing these player expectation shows in sets of 3 and 4, and tonight's show, we're going to talk about Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Evan Fournier, and Quentin Grimes. So let's kick it off. Tonight's panel, my guy Alex Rotaros, the Stratocast, is in here. Al, how you feeling, man?
Doing good, man. Enjoying the day. Sad about the Jets. There's some, on the Jets side, there's a little more promise because the QB looked all right. So not like the New York Giants, but hey, we still need an offensive line. So that's the only issue we got right now.
Man, we'll get into football a little bit later, man. I'm still tight, bro. I'm tight right now. As a Giants fan, I'm tight, but we got to get to our special guest joining us, a diehard Knicks fan, actor extraordinaire, most notably from HBO's The Wire, and that's Julito McCullum. Julito, welcome to KnicksFanTV, man. How you feeling, bro?
Hey, I'm excellent, man. CP, thank you for having me. Alex, we meet again. Always a pleasure to be in your presence, sir. But I'm happy to be here and happy to talk Knicks, of course.
Absolutely, man. Last time me and you saw each other in person, it was pandemonium after Game 2, Knicks versus Hawks. And again, an unforgettable night, bro. No doubt about it, man.
Hey, just to think about where we were in that moment, I don't know about you, but I thought we was going to the ship.
Man, everybody did.
I thought that was like a Game 2 win. I thought it was, peaches and cream, but it was a great moment.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
sure.
Absolutely. And it's great to have you here. And, we're going to talk Knicks, but also we're going to talk about the great Michael K. Williams, man, someone who you worked with on the show The Wire. We lost him last week tragically to an apparent drug overdose, so we're definitely going to get to your thoughts on that. So RIP to Michael K. Williams as well. All right, so let's start it off. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. I want to start with Mitch first, fellas, because last year was a tough one for Mitch once again, an injury-riddled season that was cut short. He's now vowing to come back and be every bit of the defensive monster that he was in his first 2 seasons, man. This is an important year for Money Mitch, the Block Ness Monster, in year 3. So what can we expect? Julito, I'll start with you, man. What are your expectations for the Block Ness Monster going into year 3?
Yeah.
Year 4, rather. Year 4.
Year 4, yeah. For me, Mitchell Robinson is the project we never thought we needed, right? Like, as a Knicks fan, we never thought in the last pick of a draft we would be dealing with a guy who can possibly be our future. And I'm really happy to have him back and healthy. I think for this year, for me, I just want to see Mitch take an extra step. I am aware that he is coming off of 2, career-changing injuries, right? As a foot for a 7-footer, things can change. There's a lot of guys who didn't necessarily come back from an injury, like this, and progress intensively. But for me, I think Mitch is the guy that, my issue with Mitch is maturity. I've talked about it a bunch of times. I just think when it comes to the maturity piece, I want to see Mitch step into manhood in a different way. For me, it's not about the game for Mitch. It's more about what's in between the ears.
Yeah.
And for me, I think, with Mitch having a child now, with Mitch, realizing that I'm not playing with young bucks anymore. I'm playing with guys who are mature, who are season proven, who have been in the trenches, like a guy like Kemba Walker, a guy like Derrick Rose. He's going to be playing with these guys night in and night out. And I just want to see Mitch step it up on the maturity end. And I think that's the only thing that's missing from him stepping it up on the, on the floor. So for me, I would love to see Mitch turn into a guy who trusts his shot, trusts his offense. Yeah. The defense is there. I just want to see what Mitch can do as an overall player and not just a shot blocker. And once we get a Mitch that turns it up on the maturity end, I think that's going to change things for him.
Absolutely, man. Al, how about you, bro?
I mean, from Mitch, I think Julito just hit the nail on the head. Like, it's not just it's the maturity, and it's just adding more to his game than just being that defensive anchor. I would like to
Yeah.
see a little bit more offensive out of Mitch as well. Sure, we've discussed on this show that Tom Thibodeau doesn't really use centers offensively. We saw that with Nerlens Noel. We saw that even with Taj, and even when Mitch was in the starting lineup last season. But I would like to see add something to the game where you have to make the defense honor you, like just some sort of post moves. It's always great seeing the Gotham Wob. It's always great seeing just like put back dunks, but he needs more to his repertoire in order to show that he's a viable center and to even demand, like, if he wants that larger contract, right? To show that he's more than just a one trick pony. Like, yes, we need that defensive intensity. We saw when we had Nerlens Noel in the playoffs, someone who couldn't guard the pick and roll as well.
Yeah.
We saw it when it's just trying to get defensive and offensive rebounds. Like, Mitch is a really good rebounder, especially on the offensive glass. Mitch is, I think, underrated. He's a top 10 for the past couple of seasons that he's played, majority of seasons, top 10 offensive rebounder in the league among centers. So we need that back, and we saw that we missed that dearly in the playoffs. But on top of that, we also see that he's putting on some weight. So hopefully we can use that, because he was getting bullied around by Andre Drummond and other big centers as well. So I want to see, I guess what I really want to see from Mitch is not just the offensive game, but being able to own the paint as well and just box people out, just get better at doing that. We saw the improvement last season, and just really, I don't know, just like own the paint, like actually show that you are dominant in the paint. I know it's impossible to own it every single night, but to show that no one's going to be able to bully you around like we saw against Andre Drummond, or whether it's Dwight Howard, we don't need that. We need someone who can just be there for us, like in the paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right, man. You hit the nail on the head, and to Julito's point, the maturity. That was one of the first things that going into training camp last year that was reported to me, that was told to me, was that the organization was concerned with his maturity and how he came into camp, and so that was certainly an area of concern and something that I hope he works on and continues to improve on. Still a young cat, still a young kid, very much raw, both from on the court and off the court, and so hopefully he continues to get that together. So I definitely agree with you there. I think there were 3 areas where he was sorely missed, man, after his injury, after he went down. He was just sorely missed, and number one was just having that consistent vertical threat in terms of the Gotham lob. Noel, yes, could be that guy, but we know he has no hands. You know what I'm saying? He's got Evan Ingram hands. If we're making a football comparison, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Noel just didn't have the hands, and so he really wasn't feared much when it comes to the lobs. I think this year we're gonna see Mitch step up in that area because he's gonna have not just one but 2 dynamic point guards, veteran point guards that'll get him activated, plus R.J. Barrett. The chemistry that he and RJ had on those Gotham lobs, especially in the beginning of the games when they used to run the offense through RJ on those first sets of the game, he's going to have 3 consistent playmakers that's going to be able to get him involved, whether it's Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, R.J. Barrett, even Julius. We saw some Gotham lobs there thrown by from Julius to Mitch, and so I think his presence in the offense is going to elevate the offense as well because you're going to have multiple guys that can now get him going, and I think that's very important. Secondly, to your point, Al, the rebounding. Noel just is not a good rebounder, and he got abused. Number one, he doesn't have the physicality like Mitch, but also Mitch just had a knack for the ball, especially on the offensive side. He was in the 89th percentile in terms of offensive rebounding percentage, 12.8%. And so I think it's a combination of his wingspan and just overall, some guys are just better at having a knack for the ball, always finding the ball around the offensive side. And I think Mitch did that well for us. But what you want to see is him be able to just, snatch those down and just put it back up. I don't think, I'm not sure his game is ever going to round out to be, somebody that I don't think you're going to see him shooting jumpers and things like that, or even get a hook shot. But at the very least, if he could just clean up the glass and get some putbacks in there, he can get 10 and 10 a night, and that's all we really need from him. When you figure that the offense is going to go through Julius, Kemba, RJ. Fournier, Rose quickly and them off the bench. I think with Mitch, just give us a solid 10 and 10, couple blocks a night. I think that would be nice to see. And then the third area was his defensive versatility. And that was really on display in that Hawks series, in the way that he can guard the perimeter, in the way that he can deter shots at the rim, not just block shots, but just be a presence that people have to think twice about in terms of driving on, but also in terms of shooting over. The three-point shot. We saw, especially in his rookie year, how easy it was for him to block three-pointers. And so I thought, as much as Noel gives us that rim protection, he really didn't give us that versatility around the perimeter that Mitch gave us. And that really made Tom Thibodeau's defense a force. And so I think him coming in healthy this year, it's going to help improve the defense. For sure. So those are the three areas for me that I think Mitch was sorely missed, and I think he's really going to help us going into next season.
Yeah, CP, if I can, I think one piece of the puzzle that a lot of folks are not focused on is the fact that Mitch finally gets to play with point guards that are aware, mature, and elite, right? Like with D Rose being however old, whatever age he is, he still was our best player on the floor at the playoffs.
Yeah.
Kemba Walker, if he's healthy, he's still going to be one of the best point guards, top 15, top 20 point guards in the league, right? And that says a lot. And now Mitch, night in and night out, gets to play with these guys.
Yeah.
And I think that we're underestimating what that will do for a guy like Mitchell Robinson, right? What that will do, and I know this is not about RJ, but for RJ Barrett, right? What that'll probably even do for a guy like Kevin Knox, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to be the deciding factor in how good we look as a team. So I'm just so happy to see Mitch being able to play with point guards who know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And I think that's going to change a lot for Mitch. You know what I mean? And even more so on the maturity end. You don't got a guy like Alfred Payton. Oh, I don't even know why I say his name. We don't got a guy like he who must not be named out there, right? Like that, he didn't even seem like he was very vocal, right? Like, and I'm not in the locker room, but it just didn't seem like that was his
getting the guys together.
His forte, right?
Yeah.
You got Kimba and Derrick Rose every night. I think it's going to do wonders for Mitch, man.
Yeah, and even on top of that, we now have shooters all around Mitchell Robinson, from Kemba, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett. So Mitch can just operate in the paint by himself instead of being crowded with he who shall not be named and anyone else, because it was just Julius Randle, like RJ. Sure, they shot well from three, but it was just like Reggie Bullock who we were relying on from the three-point land. So it's just going to be totally different for Mitch now. I can't wait to see what that even looks like.
That's a fact. I want to shout out my guy Junior Caroma, sends a super chat. He says, salute CP, salute Alex. Mitch is my guy, always been my guy. Pause. I know some Knicks fans ain't sold on Mitch. I don't know why, but he's the key. So salute my guy Junior Caroma for the super chat, and also salute my guy Al Diddy. He says this is going to be a fire episode. Julito in the house, CP and Alex in the building. Let's go. Shout out to the New York Jets. So Al Diddy down in Orlando repping Gang
Let's
Green.
go.
Let's go.
Gang Green.
He knows what's up.
Oh, man. I'm going to get to football later, man. I'm tight now. I'm just tight, bro. But, yeah, like I was saying, man, Mitch last year, 81st percentile in block percentage at 2.8. Yeah. 84th percentile in steal percentage. So, like I said, just being out there in the perimeter with that wingspan, deterring shots, deterring passes, making guys think twice, it's going to keep that Knicks defense sharp, man. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them out there. Hopefully healthy, knock on wood, healthy, and with a full say what, if he can get 70-something games, 75 games, that would be great.
Oh, man.
But just a full slate playing with Kemba and D Rose, I think is going to do his game wonders. So definitely looking forward to that. And then in the backdrop is going to be the whole contract situation, because he's going in a contract year. So is the motivation going to be there? And at the same time, what will he do? Will he take a gamble and go into free agency? We know he's now on his 6th agent in 4 years. Yeah. So will he take the gamble and try to go for the bag? Will he bet on himself, or will he play it the safe route like Julius and say, he's making 1.6 million this year? Will he say, I'll take the team friendly deal for now and secure my future for a couple years? Al, I'll start with you, man. What's your take on the contract situation?
Julito, John and I actually discussed it on my pod, and we had John who thinks that Mitch would get an extension before the season started, and Julito and I think that Mitch is going to go into the season without a contract extension, and then you have the Knicks making the decision by the trade deadline whether or not they want to keep him on the team, either keep him here and then want to extend him for the next offseason, give him that new contract, or move him and see what they can get as value in return. So I won't speak for Julito. I just don't see a deal happening for Mitch at this point. I mean, it would be nice just to know that we have him coming up long term. It would having the backing of the front office would be great, probably for him, and just keep that, just something that could just generate news and content every single day. Like, are they going to extend Mitch? Are they going to extend Mitch? It's like it would be like a football related, like a quarterback controversy, or even like your top player, right? You don't want that. You don't want that in the locker room. Because it's just going to be on his head. But I don't see it happen. I don't see it happening. I think the front office is too savvy at this point, saying we don't know much about Mitch. I mean, if they win in last season, questioning maturity, and they didn't get a full season with him last season, and they really wanted to see what he could do. I think they will say, hey, I want to see what you can do this season with another offseason. Let's see if you can stay healthy before I throw all this money at you. And then, it's sunk down goes down the drain if you're injury prone, or if you don't take that next step that we need you to be.
Yeah. I think Mitch is an integral part to our success. I think for us to take the next step, I think Mitch is going to be a player that we need to keep around. At the same time, like Alex said, I don't believe he will get a contract going into the season. And I think, but this is the thing, right? If I'm a guy like a Leon Rose, right? If I'm a Wes, I'm looking at, as long as Mitch is able to stay healthy, at least up until the trade deadline, we're keeping him. But if, say Mitch gets another tweaking injury, say Mitch is out for 2 to 3 weeks prior to that, I can see them letting him go. He is at his, since we've had him, it seems as if his stock is extremely high. Right. And his stock is high, and there's guys who are willing to probably give up a few assets for him. And if Mitch isn't staying healthy, the worst thing that could have happened to Mitch this year, CP, is Noel to play as great as he did. Noel literally stepped into his role. And of course, you've talked about the perimeter defense. You've talked about the rebounding. And that's things Noel can't do. But what he was able to do was keep us in that 4th seed. When the playoffs came, he was exhausted, right? Yeah. And he just couldn't run anymore, right? He gave us his soul throughout the season. He couldn't run anymore. I think for that, it wasn't the best thing that could possibly happen for Mitch's situation, but I still believe in Mitch, man. I'm a guy that I'm not those Knicks fans who live and breathe every single player that touches the orange and blue, right? But at the same time, I do see his value. You know what I mean? And I think it's all about the health when it comes to Mitch, right? If Mitch is able to give us 8 to 9 points a game, 2 blocks, 9 rebounds, if he's able to do that and stay healthy from now until the trade deadline, we will be extending Mitch. If he, like I said, if he gets to one of those injuries that's lingering throughout the season, I think Leon Rose is willing to give him up. And I say that because we haven't offered him a contract yet.
Yeah.
That's something that says something. It's not the end all be all, but it does say something in the grand scheme of things.
I believe the Post reported that they're keen on trying to get a deal done. Obviously, they'd rather lock him into a team-friendly deal like they did with Julius. But I'm with you. I think if he does get hurt, I think it could be in their favor in terms of, if they do let him go into free agency, test the market out, it could bode well for them in terms of what his market value is, because it's certainly a gamble there. And he still is very much a project. So It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out with Mitch, man. Absolutely. Absolutely.
100%.
Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. I want to shout out Trevon Clark, sends a super chat. He says, I said before, Towns is coming here next year by the trade deadline. Need Mitch for the package for Karl Anthony Towns. Julito shaking his head. He don't want Towns here, bro.
I don't want Towns. He's too soft for me, man.
Yeah.
He's too soft, man. He looks, Towns is good, but I don't think that's the guy we need. I don't think Leon Rose and these guys, as we can see, he's not willing to throw. We're gonna have to give up a lot for Karl Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. You just see they reported that they are not willing to give up Cat. They're not willing to give up Anthony Edwards, and they really don't want to give up. Right? They don't want to give up D'Angelo for Ben. Mm-hmm. What do you think they're gonna want from us to get a guy like Karl Anthony Towns? And I'm not giving it up for a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. No way. Keep me out of it.
Out of it.
He also doesn't help with what we need, which is defense.
Yeah.
At the 5, like I feel like him, like it'd be cool to have him providing that offense, but then he'd just be a turnstile on defense. And Tom Thibodeau, if you're all about rim protection and having a defensive anchor at the 5, that does not scream.
It doesn't help us, man. It does not help us. So to everybody in the chat, once again, what do you guys think about Mitch? Drop your expectations, your thoughts on Mitch going into year 4 in the chat. And we'll shout you guys out. Also, if you guys want to call us up, get your thoughts on tonight's play expectations. 657-383-1509 is the phone number to call. Or you can also dial in via the KnicksFanTV Discord. So 2 ways to get in and get your takes in. Shout out to Justin Odierno, sends a super chat. He says RJ is a future all-star. After his first year, everyone was saying how bad of a shooter he was. Now he's over here shooting 40% from 3. Mm-hmm, so Justin's on the RJ Barrett wave, like most of us, myself included. Shout out Shane Mack from New Jersey. Shane, appreciate the super chat. Drops a $10 super chat in there. And I think I got all the super chats. Okay, so we talked Mitch. Let's talk one Evan Fournier. Friend of the show. Shout out Evan Fournier. He came to KnicksFanTV first for his
interview.
You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it. Appreciate that. Fire. Definitely happy to have that experience. But shout out Fournier. 17 points, 3 dimes, 41% from 3 in his campaign, which was split between Boston and Orlando, Julito. We have a new wing, a more versatile wing than the guy that left here. What are your expectations? What are your thoughts on Evan Fournier, the newest member of the New York Knicks?
Yeah, I really like Evan, man. It's just everything about the guy, man. His mentality. I think he's super underrated and just needed an opportunity. And I know we're going to give him the opportunity that takes him to that next level. I think his defense is underrated. You know what I mean? I think the fact that he is a willing defender, he is pesky. He can be at times those kind of guys who like just annoy you. He may not get the stop. He may get scored on at points, but he will annoy you, right? Because of his aggressiveness and his attention to the detail. And I think, for me, CP, Alex, man, I want guys who come here that want to be a Knick and they care about the team. And it seems like he cared about the team even before he got here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. From you all's conversation where he said, man, I told people the Knicks were good prior to, right? He didn't say those words, but he said the talk around the league it's not what everyone thinks it is. Mm-hmm. And that's because in his world, he's not talking down on the Knicks. He hasn't, prior to being on the team, he wasn't a Knick hater. I don't like when we get guys that aren't bleeding orange and blue. And I think Evan is going to bleed orange and blue. I love what he can do for us on the offensive end. I love that he cuts. I love that he's able to play the passing lane. I just like that he's the guy that we know will give us more than stand in the corner and shoot. Mm-hmm. Right. And, I'm a huge fan of Reggie, man. I'm happy he's going to go to a team that's going to give him some play, the creator of the Big 15, Reggie. But at the same time, with a guy like Evan Fournier, we will lack on the defensive end, but what he makes up on the offensive end is what we needed in the playoff. It's what we need in general for this team. I think he's going to do wonders for us, man. And, you just seeing his interview at the press conference, just seeing what, just when he talks about the game, how intelligent he is. about the game, and how I love the fact that we got a guy that like an RJ Barrett can look to, right? Like we got a guy that is, when it comes to his maturity, you know, I'm really big on maturity. If y'all haven't heard it, you know,
it's important though.
because I know it's necessary,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I know if you look at most of the championship teams, look at the Miami Heat. They had a Jimmy Butler, a Haslam. He didn't touch the floor, but those presences
Those no
will
nonsense
change.
guys.
They will change the game. And like you just said, no nonsense.
Yeah.
I love that Evan Fournier is a no nonsense guy, and I think he's gonna kill for us, man. It's because he's gonna have the green light. He's played with Kimba. You know, they were, for the little time they were together, they were some of the best offense, partners in the league for those few games, man. He's gonna do wonders for us, and I can't wait to see him, man.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Evan Fournier brings to the Knicks as well. And, CP, shout out to your core vision, what you did with Tommy D, and seeing just like the instant chemistry they had for such a short stint together in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
You see they're looking for each other at the 3-point line, looking for each other when they're cutting. It's good to see that they'll be able to build on that continuity from Boston here in New York. I'm excited to see that get going. On top of that, I also am looking forward to having him reduce his role as a player as well, because he was one of those top 2-3 options in Orlando, and he doesn't have to be that guy here in New York, right? He was shout out to our guy Chip Murphy. He was talking about how Evan Fournier had to be the focal primary playmaker down in crunch time. Like they're looking for him to do pick and rolls, give and goes, all these different plays to get that crunch time bucket, and that's just not him. That's not who he is. He's more of like in the middle, in between game, gives you the feeling of the stats. Like he'll get you his 17, right? He'll get you those points. He'll shoot well from behind the arc, but you don't want him being your lead playmaker coming down the stretch. And that's what Orlando had him doing with Vooch. And so I'm excited to see him not have to do that and be playing in a more comfortable role for himself, being just a high efficiency role player on this team, someone who's going to cut, who's going to slash, take the open looks, good catch and shoot, can take it to the rack. Not the greatest finisher, but you still have to honor him. He's not the best on-ball defender, but he's a damn good team defender. So I'm looking very good. I'm looking forward to that. Just having like competent wing players on this team for once. That's probably the most exciting thing about Evan Fournier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, real quick, I just want to say that word competent. It's changed the game for us as in the Knicks organization. Last year, things changed when we got a competent front office. Now this season, we have a competent everything, right? Like from the bench, the wings, all of it. Having competent players is going to do wonders for us, man.
Yeah, it's well said, bro. Good points. And Al, I thought you made a good point too, just in terms of his role, right? Not having to be the focal point and the pressures that come with it, and just being a guy that can play his role and play to his strengths. So just being a solid 3-point shooter for us. And I think that the most underrated part of his game is passing. I think every year of his career he's been in double digits in terms of assist percentage. This year he's in the 70th percentile. He's basically been in the top quarter of the league his entire career in that regard. So I think again when you contrast him with Bullock, you now have a guy that's going to keep your offense moving. He's not just a standstill catch and shoot guy, but he's a guy that can put the ball on the floor, again facilitate for you. He's a guy that could run the break for you. So now you have Kemba or Rose, whoever's going to be starting. I think it'll be Kemba. You have RJ, you have Fournier, and you have Julius. You have 4 guys now that can grab a rebound and get it and go, which is where I think the Knicks really need to take their offense next year, because we just have those guys that can thrive in transition.
Yeah.
When you talk about RJ, Obi, Fournier, guys like that, I think Fournier will definitely add that dimension. One of the notable things that he said in the interview was that he wanted to work on shooting off the dribble, which is something that RJ is also working on this year. But Fournier was actually pretty good last year. I think I have his stats around 50-something% effective field goal percentage on pull-ups. But he said that, again, that's something that he's working on. And also, as his game evolves, operating more out of the post. So those are 2 areas of his game that he's going to be working on. So, listen, I think Fournier is going to continue to, be a consistent 3-point threat for us, space the floor well for Julius and RJ, as he said he intended to do. And again, he's working on those two areas of his game to kind of have his offense evolve. How the defense, does it improve? Does it not improve? We'll see. Time will tell. Again, I thought what Bullock's job was, he may not have been a defensive stopper by any stretch, but he most nights he handled the toughest assignments on the perimeter. And so I'm not sure if we're going to have that versatility again this year with the team. And so we'll see what happens, how it impacts the defense, and how, the extra offense kind of counters that. So that'll be left to be seen. Another thing with Fournier for me is he's not going to get to the rim for you. He's not a rim attacker. He's not a guy that's going to draw a ton of fouls from that standpoint. So, again, we'll see how that kind of impacts the offense, because what we saw last year was that while Julius and RJ, or RJ more so, attacked the rim, neither one finished at the rim fairly well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out with Fournier. It's good that you have a counter in Kemba who, although his rim attempts went down last year, he still finished the best out of the starting five. So, again, a couple things to consider. But I like the Fournier pickup. I'm not, mad at the contract. A good guy, came on here, faced the heat, came on KnicksFanTV first. And the fans really got a chance to really see who he was and know who he was. He's played for a small market team most of his career, and so you really didn't know much about him. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah. We needed guys that are hard-nosed, blue-collar guys. I was nervous about, the Lonzo Balls, and he's not a wing, but those are options that we had on the table. I love the Fournier pickup because he has something to prove. Like this season, he just came off of the Olympic run where I know he has that chip on his shoulder, right? KD and those guys just knocked him out twice, actually, for a guy. Fournier, he knocked him out in the NBA playoffs and then in the Olympics. But he for me, I don't know if you guys feel like this, he kind of made his name in this Olympic run.
Yeah, he played well. He played well, man.
He played well, for those guys. So I'm excited to see him bring that tenacity over to the orange and blue, and I think he will.
Absolutely. Shout out to... who's this in the chat? Zane Dane says he attacks the rim. Look at him with Team France in Orlando. I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now with Orlando. Where is it? I think it was. Hang on 1 second. We'll take a look at his shooting frequency at the rim here. 23% with the Magic. 12% with the Celtics last year. So I mean. Again, he's not a slasher is the point. He's not a slasher is what I'm trying to say. As opposed to, RJ, who, again, is a slasher but hasn't finished well at the rim. So that's basically the point that I'm trying to make. Fournier's forte is shooting. Whether it's shooting from three, shooting off the mid-range, or shooting off the dribble. And again, I think that, the spacing that he's going to provide to this offense will certainly give us a lift.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. What do you guys think about Evan Fournier? Leave your comments in the chat in terms of your expectations. And speaking of which, let's go to D from North Carolina, who wants to chime in on Mitch and Fournier. D, how you feeling?
What's going on, CP? What's going on, fellas?
What's good, bro? How you doing?
Yeah.
What's up?
Not much. As far as Mitch, I think we spoke about it before, but I don't put all the blame on him because of all the instability we had in the past when he first got there. And I'm hoping Thibodeau will get on his behind and, get him straightened out. But, I just don't want to see him, like Dwight Howard, play around too much, isn't mature, like he was saying, and loses his potential because he's not mature enough.
Right.
That would be my issue with him. But, the ability and his skills are there. He just has to grow up. As far as Fournier, I'm glad they picked him up. I was happy that they picked him up instead of DeRozan because, people forget that he was, even though they weren't a great team, the games that Orlando did win was mostly because of Fournier and his scoring. So, with that being said, he was what we need. Especially what I like about him and Kemba is that they're both genuine dudes. So they're good people. They're going to help these young kids. They're going to help everybody else reach their potential. And I'm hoping that, they'll be able to feed and bleed over into Mitch, into RJ, into Randle, and help them all reach their potentials.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. A very, very good point, man.
There we go.
I'm very much encouraged by these two additions, man. Just adding this to the team, and again, the team's overall focus on having shot creators, more shot creators. We got exposed in that Hawks series by not having enough, and again, you bring in a Fournier, you bring in Kemba. I think that was the right formula at their price, right? Obviously, there were better players that you wanted, no question. There were other players that they wanted, but within their price, and when they took that prudent approach to the offseason, and this is what they came out with, I think these were two good additions. Good call by D.
Yeah, I love what D said about the fact that he can space the floor, and he can also, be a mentor to these guys.
Yeah.
I'm really big on looking at these guys from an aspect of like their mental health. Things of that sort. I think if we had got like a guy like DeRozan, he seems like a really good locker room guy as well. But DeRozan want to be a star, man. He only got a few more years left in his career. Yeah. He wants to be the guy. We don't got anybody on his team like that anymore, right? I think the only guy that I'm a little nervous about is Quickly from that aspect because he's young, he's flashy, he's getting the buzz, but if you look at our entire starting lineup and even going into the bench, everybody has played their role their whole career. Even Kemba Walker, right? Like people don't realize that when we had when Kemba was in Charlotte, he was the man, but there was moments he'd take a back seat for Al Jefferson, right? Because he's just that guy. I love the fact that Evan Fournier is a guy who doesn't need the spotlight to shine, and that's that France living, right? That European,
selfless.
Personality, man. So I love what D said, man. Yeah, he's going to be a mentor to these guys, and I think that's what they need.
Absolutely. And I think touching on the Mitch subject, Mitch has probably the most untapped potential. He's just like the biggest question mark.
Yeah.
And like you just see the potential there. It's just, can he put it all together? And to his point, he's right. Like the first two seasons under Fizdale, like he didn't have the true guidance that he needed to be a center. He was just kind of given free reign just to go block shots and just be who he is. Now he actually has an organized coaching staff. You have Kenny Payne, someone who's worked with bigs, who, has that relationship with Julius Randle, has that relationship with Anthony Davis, Cat, guys who he's had them, like even Cat when he was in college played defense. And then when he got to the NBA, we just saw his offense just become unleashed. So yeah, I would just want to see what he can do. I want to see what Kenny Payne and Tom Thibodeau can do with Mitch this season and another off season. But Mitch is just, I said this on, actually John said this on our pod. Mitch, because we did way too early, like season awards, like guys who get most improved and so forth. Right. And Mitch is the guy that we need to get the most improved. Like he needs that. He needs that award. He's the guy. If he does that, this team is skyrocketing. The potential of this team takes a massive leap. So
good point.
He really needs to like just let himself like come out and just be that center that we know he can be.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. One correction on Fournier. I said that he didn't draw fouls. That was in Boston. His foul drawing rate was low, but actually in Orlando it was up there. He was in the 87th percentile in shooting foul draw rate, 12.6%, at 92nd percentile in non-shooting foul draw rate. So he actually did very well. Last year was his best year in terms of drawing contacts. So so just a correction there. It was in Boston where he didn't really draw it a lot, but he wasn't there for that long. He was only there for 16 games. So that's the correction there on Fournier. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP Alex Rotaro, special guest Salute McCullum in the building. Remember, tonight's show, as usual, is presented by Manscaped, fellas. Fall is vastly approaching. You got the pumpkins patches going on, and my guys at Manscaped want to make sure that you don't carve those pumpkins up incorrectly. So what you got to do is go get that Lawnmower 4.0 by Manscaped. It's got the ceramic blade technology, skin safe technology, so you cut down on those nicks. You got the LED spotlight, so you can do it in the dark, whatever you're into. Great battery life, wireless charger and wired charger, waterproof as well, fellas. Lawnmower 4.0. And as usual, you can get 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com and entering promo code KFTV. And they got a lot of other great products, not just Lawnmower 4.0, but you got the Performance Package 4.0. And the Performance Package, you get the Lawnmower 4.0, you get the Weed Whacker, which is the nose and ear trimmer, and you get the ball toner, which is some ball toner, ball deodorant. You know what I'm saying? When you're at work and you got to go to happy hour, you don't got time to take a shower. Just take a couple spritzes down there. You're real fresh, man, real fresh. And then you also get a pair of boxer briefs. So that is the Performance Package 4.0. And like I said, 20% off plus free shipping. Great deal. Ships to the U.S., UK, Europe, South Africa. Goes all the way to South Africa, Australia, and Singapore as well. So go out there and get your Lawnmower 4.0. No testimonials, as we always say on the show. No testimonials. I trust your judgment. Just go out there and get it. All right, fellas. So we talked Mitch. We talked Fournier. Julito, we got three rookies actually. One of which went back to Spain. But two rookies who showed out in the Summer League, man. Really made a name for themselves in the Summer League. We talked about Miles McBride on the last show. Tonight we're going to talk about one Quentin Grimes out of the University of Houston, man. Sharpshooter, defender, tenacious defender, sharpshooter, really put it on display in the Summer League, man. What were your thoughts on Quentin Grimes, and what do you see as a season outlook for him?
Yeah. Before I get on Grimes, I just have to say I am president of the Deuce McBride fan club.
Yes.
I haven't joined the fan club in quite some time for a Knicks player, but I am Team Deuce.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there
Absolutely.
to whoever's listening. Do with it what you will. I will say. Okay.
No doubt.
On Grimes. Yeah, I really love the picks we got this year, man. But as far as Grimes, Grimes is the kind of guy that he just needs to be confident in this game. And I'm unsure if that we'll get to see the true potential of Grimes this season because he's playing behind a guy like Alec Burks, like Evan Fournier or RJ Barrett. Like, he's playing behind guys who they will get minutes. The only thing that will stop them from getting minutes is injury. And neither of those guys are injury prone. So, Grimes may not get Grimes. He may not get the minutes that he will need to succeed.
Yeah.
But I like the kid. I think his shot, once he's confident, as you can see in the Summer League, right? First two games, it's a new stage. It's different for him. He struggled. After that, we started to truly see the sharp shooting. We got to truly see the defense that they've been talking about. We got to see the kid. In seeing that, I can see that he's a guy that if we need a 3-and-D guy, he's that. If we need a guy, I'm going back to maturity. I love his maturity. That dude looks like he's been in the he's like 28 and been around for quite some time, right? Like, I love the fact that Grimes is a prove it kind of guy, like a Tibbs kind of guy. He's those like rough necks that's like willing to prove it. I just want to be a fly on the wall at training camp, y'all. Like, I just want to be a fly in the wall at training camp because, Kevin Knox, you were situational last year. But you may be in Argentina or Dubai playing because Grimes
might be getting the water, man.
You might be going to get the holding the bags like a rookie again, bro. Because this Grimes kid has what it takes to be an efficient NBA player, and I love that we got every guy that we got this year they have the potential to. They may not be superstars, but they are efficient NBA players.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Grimes will bring to this team. He may not get the minutes, but I think he's going to be a pivotal player for us in practice since we finally get some practices. He's going to be a pivotal player for us in the long run. I just don't think he will get the playing time this year that he needs.
Efficient is a good word. Go ahead, Al.
And I agree with Julito 100%. Like, once again, going back to my pod when we did the way too early season awards, we did the who's going to win the Rookie of the Year award, and I chose Deuce McBride because I think Deuce is going to get minutes over Quentin Grimes just because of I think Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker are going to be sitting games where you have IQ playing in the starting lineup, and that will give some opening to Deuce McBride to play with the second unit. That's why I think I think that's more likely to happen. And I think for when it comes to Quentin Grimes, we mentioned Alec Burks. We got Evan Fournier. We have RJ Barrett. We have so many wings at this point. Like, IQ plays it too. He's not going on the bench. He's solidified in that second unit. There's just no opportunities for him like that will give him that many minutes to actually shine this season. But to add on to what Julito said, like, we saw him in Summer League, like, he didn't look comfortable. What I did like about him though is that he always played a good floor game every single night. He was hustling. He was diving for the ball. He was going out of bounds for it. He was crashing the boards. He got a lot of rebounds every single night. And then once Summer League started to close out, you started to see that shot drop. And the other thing that I liked about him too is that he's able to push the pace, and he actually has some playmaking to him. He averaged 3 assists during Summer League.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by that aspect of his game. I don't think we know fully enough what his game is. I think because in college they just like to put these guys into like a true role, have them be what they are. So he was in college 3-and-D guy, right? I think there's more to his game that we don't even know yet, and I'm just intrigued from what we saw through Summer League. But with playing time, I don't think he'll get the minutes needed just to get that, unless he really like goes in there and starts shooting like super efficiently from behind the arc, that just says, we don't need Burks. He's shooting 40% from 3 already. Bring him in, but I don't see that happening.
Agreed, and I'll echo both of your sentiments by saying, I don't think the playing time will be there for him unless injury. And knock on wood, obviously you don't hope this happens, but you got to add in a COVID injury for all these guys. You know what I'm saying? And it's a possibility. And so obviously we saw it took out Burks, it took out Rose last year. But he's going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to playing time, because obviously you have RJ. The wings position is going to be pretty locked in, because you have RJ Fournier, you have quickly Burks.
Yep.
And then that's basically where Grimes is going to have to fit in. So I don't see that I don't see the playing time coming for him. But, again, it could be a nice redshirt year for him, a nice year to continue to learn. And as Julito said, practice hard, practice well with these guys, and his opportunity may come. So I think, but he's a guy that will stay ready, because I feel like they picked up 2 guys who are mature, focused, locked in, and I thought you just saw that. Yes, it was Summer League, but you saw that, especially under duress and when he was struggling, because those first 2 games his shot wasn't there. But that's why I was encouraged, and I felt like it was going to come along, because to your point, Al, his floor game was still solid. He was still hustling. He was still rebounding. His defense was still on point for the most part, making smart reads. The awareness was there. The IQ was on full display. And then after the second game, the shot was just on fire, bro. Just absolutely on fire. And one of the dope stats for him coming out of Houston in his last year, he was in the 83rd percentile off catch and shoots while guarded. So you have a guy that can make tough shots, and I thought that's another area on this team that we needed to address, is having tough shot makers, not just guys that could shoot wide open jumpers, because especially in the playoffs, when the playoff time comes, and you having more savvy defenders and they're cutting off your airspace, you're gonna have to still make buckets. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to make buckets. So that was one of the stats that had jumped out to me when in his last year at Houston. And then also 63rd percentile shooting off the dribble. And so in terms of areas of improvement, both in Houston and also in the limited Summer League, you didn't see much of an intermediate. the mid-range. He didn't really shoot well from the mid-range, and also didn't really attack the basket as much. And so those are the two areas that you definitely want to see him improve on at the next level. Attacking the basket, having more confidence in his handles to get to the basket, and also, working on a jumper in the intermediate. But so far, as Julito said, if he can just start off, from a 3-and-D standpoint, his efficiency, I think, will certainly carry over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The kid is gonna be good, man. Just we won't. I don't think it'll be this year, like I said, but I think he is in the future plans, man. I think he is, and like I said, Knox, Kev, listen, Fortnite may be your future kid. Fortnite may be your future kid.
Oh man,
listen, 2K22 just came out, Kev.
The Fortnite world champion, right? That might
listen, go create your play on 2K, Kev. Go through.
Said create your player.
It's a different chapter every few months. You know what I mean? It's gonna be exciting for you, but Grimes taking that spot. Grimes taking that spot.
Man said, create your player, Al. Create your player, man.
Create your player, man. They got the cool face scan. It's not ready yet. The face scan is coming. And we'll see.
Oh, wow. Man. That's hilarious. Shout out to Boston. Nick sent a super chat. He says, without taking away from the vibes, just want to say never forget 9/11. Boston stands with New York 100%. Praise to the heroes and the ones that gave their lives in this tragedy. Yeah, absolutely, man. Definitely
100.
Have to take that into consideration. Yesterday was definitely a somber day and a day to remember. I think for me personally, it was just a crazy day. And, the eerie thing is that yesterday and on that day, 9/11/2001, the weather was immaculate. And that was one of the things I remember, when I go back to that day, was just like how perfect the weather was. And it's not to say that, bad things only happen in bad weather, obviously, but it's just one of those where you go out about your day and you're never expecting something like that to happen. An absolute horror story, unfolding on this city. But, as Boston Nick said, nevertheless, definitely want to remember those that we lost, the people who were, directly impacted by it, whether, again, directly or through 6 degrees of separation, all the first responders that helped, all the volunteers that helped, definitely want to shout out to everyone involved, no doubt about it.
Yeah. I was 6th grade, man, watching the towers, man. Yeah, I just show my age, right? But yeah, man, 6th or 7th grade, just watching that, man, and that experience was it was tough. It was tough because when you're a kid, you don't realize that this is like what was happening. I was just like, oh, the towers are on fire, but then you realize as an adult, like how many people were affected and how many lives we lost, and it's super unfortunate. So thank you to
Boston Nick. Shout out Boston Nick.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. I remember the same thing. I was in 7th grade, and I just remember the teacher just walking out and getting that call, and it was just you just knew something was up, didn't know what it was, and then parents just started coming, taking the kids home, and then just spending time with the family and just bracing and just hoping everything would just turn out all right. So once again, what Boston Nick said, salute to our heroes and everyone that was, who was there, who helped, and who was affected by it. Like, you're in our thoughts and prayers always.
Yeah, and no doubt about it.
And we were trying to get that Blueprint album, man.
Yeah. That's
it was a tough get at that time.
Absolutely. Shout out to Boston Nick for putting that in perspective. Also, shout out Amid Belfort sends a super chat. He says, salute, fellas. Evan Fournier is definitely going to be a fan favorite. I'm sure he found a personal barber for KD this season. You guys are good. Anger therapy for me right now, especially after watching that Giants game. Oh, my God, man. Yo, nightmares, man. I lost the rest of his comment. Let me try to pull up. He says, yeah, especially after that Giants game, CP, your lifesaver. Yeah, I told you, man. But when we get into this fall season, Sunday nights are gonna be hard for me, man. I try to put on a good sport face for the people, but
a warrior face.
yeah, I try, man. Yo, and Julito used to get bad too because remember 17 win season Knicks. That was just like 2 years ago, and the Giants still been bad. Were still bad back then. So
you was going through it.
Oh,
I don't know how you would have done. I don't know how I could have done. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like I told you off air, I watch all of you every day, after every game, of course, bro. The Knicks would lose last year, and I was like, I can't listen to Knicks fan TV. Like I just can't do it. Like my brain is not able to do it. I can't imagine a Knick loss, a Giant loss. It's too much. I'm not signing up for that.
Like my man said, who dropped the super chat, it is therapy once you get on, but it's getting to get on that's where the hurdle comes. And then if you watching a Giants loss at 1:00 and then a Knicks loss at 7:30, oh man, it's tough. It's real tough, man. But yeah, the terrible Giants loss today. Hopefully they bounce back against the Redskins.
CP, I've been a Jets fan, man. We haven't been to the playoffs since 2010. All right,
that's a fact.
All right,
that's a fact. You know, and what
I'm dead inside all the time.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that today too. I'm like, because I'm always like, yo, I don't know if Daniel Jones is a guy. I really don't think so. I think he's just gonna be average. And then I'm like, when I think about the Jets, you guys have been looking for the franchise quarterback since Joe Namath. That's 40 years, bro. So it could be worse.
It could be worse.
Could be worse, man.
Although Zach Wilson looked pretty good today. Even though we lost our old quarterback, Sam Darnold, he looked pretty good today.
Yeah,
offensive line just needs to step it up.
Darnold got revenge, and you guys lost an offensive lineman today, right? Becton.
We did.
Becton.
Yeah, we lost Mekhi Becton.
Tough.
It seems like he may have a MCL strain, but
okay.
Hopefully that's it. Hopefully he's back soon. But yeah, he's a tank. If we're out Mekhi Becton, it's going to be a very, very, very ugly season. Very ugly.
Oh man, well, good luck to all fans of New York football because it's gonna be a long year. But back to the player reviews, player expectations for next season. We close the expectation series with our guy, the newly signed, reigning NBA most improved player. He's a Knicks MVP, an all-star. Julius Randle, career highs, points, rebounds, assists, 3-point percentage. The reason that we got that 4th seed in the East last year. But, recency bias, Julito, the fans knocked him down a couple pegs. They knocked him down off his perch after a lackluster playoff performance against the Hawks, man. Your thoughts on Julius going into next season?
So, I will. This is gonna be I'm gonna call this one my official apology.
Okay.
To Julius.
Okay.
Right. I haven't given him an official apology, so I will because I went in on Julius. That his first season here.
Yo, me too. You and me both, bro.
The takes I had. See, I didn't even know that this world was a thing yet. So takes I had with my friends and at the games, you needed to eat their beat behind it. You know what I mean? So I will say, Julius, I apologize. Listen. You understand that we didn't because I know they listened to it, right? So I'm talking straight to you, Julius.
Yes.
I know you listen, and I know you understood why we went on you the first season, right? I just want to say I apologize and thank you for making last year one of the best years to be a Knicks fan. I will say that. Playoffs aside, thank you for making last year one of the best years. At the same time, Julius, man, I think what he's done over a season period, man. Yo, it was astonishing to see, and he improved in every area.
Everything.
He improved with just, being the player that can be a 2 or number 3 option for a winning team. You know, and I love that about him. I love the fact that he took the challenge. He went in. He understood where the backlash came from his first season. He didn't just take that and say, you know what, screw you guys, and let it beat him up. No, he went to work over the offseason last year, and he came back and he brought us to a 4th seed. And I'm forever. He's forever in my heart because of that. And I think this season, what I'm really excited to see in Julius Randle is more of that playmaking ability. Now that he's finally playing with guys around him that can all give something on the offensive end. You know, like I loved Reggie again, but all he, you know, if Reggie's not wide open, it's but so much you're getting from him on the offensive end. And then you're playing with a point guard, he who must not be named, that did nothing for you on that end. So the fact that, you know, I think, like I said, it's an understatement about what good point guards will do for everybody on his team.
Yeah.
From the RJs, from the Mitches, and most importantly for Julius, man. I love the fact, you know, I talked to Alex about this. I was worried about getting a point guard that Julius wouldn't trust. Right, you know, I wasn't sure if Julius would trust a guy like Lonzo Ball. I think he would have still looked at it like, yeah, it's my team. I'm not allowing you to get to take over. I'm not allowing you to be the center of the offense or even the defense. I think Kemba Walker was the perfect Julius Randle player, the perfect guy that can keep him at bay. Because sometimes Julius is, you know, he's the energy. Energy gets him, right? And there's times where I sat courtside and I'm staring at Julius, and he looks like his heart is beating out of his chest because of the energy the Garden brings.
Oh man, playoffs was never more apparent,
bro. As I've never experienced anything like that. I've been going to Knicks games for almost 10 years. A guy like Kemba Walker will calm that down for him.
Absolutely.
And he will trust him enough to say, I got you. Do your thing. I'm going to bring what I brought to the team last year, but now I trust the guys that are running the routes with me. And I just think, for me, I don't think Julius needs to do anything but be himself this year. Breathe. You've had a playoff series now. Finally, out of all these years in the league, you've had a playoff series. You've seen what it was about. You see what it is to be in a Knicks, in a Madison Square Garden while it's rocking. You've seen all these things. You've seen what it was to be the best player on the team. Now, take a moment, breathe, and now bring us to that next level. And I'm just happy to see what he does this season. I don't know if it's any tangible thing I can say I want to see, Julius do different this year. I just want him to be able to play his game. And without the weight of the whole team on his shoulders. Now you got some sidekicks. Now let's go to work.
Al, where are you at on Julius?
I agree with Julito. There's not much I really am asking for Randle to come in here with and just change his game. I want him to play the same game that he did last season because it worked. It worked not only for him, but it also worked for the team. So don't fix what's not broken. So come in, do the same thing that you do. Julito pointed it out. He was anxious during the playoffs. He didn't have that experience. Some guys, when they never have that experience, their senses just get heightened to a level where it's just you're in your own head. You just can't perform. But then after that one playoff series that you had, then you can come back in the next season and be like, I know what this is like now. I know that it's a slower game. I know we're going to be playing a lot more half court. I also think that when you watch Randle last season, he was legitimately the only guy that was scoring for us. Yeah. Not just the playoffs. He didn't do it. He didn't show it in the playoffs, but throughout the regular season, he was the guy. We relied on him every single night. So it was on him again in the playoffs, being the sole creator, not only for himself, but for the offense to say, all right, this is all on you now. You're the point forward. Go do it. He was only a point forward for one season, and that was under David Fizdale and a little bit of Mike Miller. And that wasn't enough to even get his bearings to understand what a point forward is. Mm-hmm. Now he gets a point guard in Kemba Walker. You have Derrick Rose. I don't think Derrick Rose is the guy that you necessarily want him to play with because both of them need the ball in their hands all the time. I think Kemba Walker, as Julito has mentioned on tonight's show so many times, Kemba, like around the league, is known as like one of the best guys, one of the best locker room guys. Like everyone loves Kemba Walker. Whatever team he goes to, they just love him. Like if he stayed at OKC, they would have loved him at OKC. They loved him in Boston. They loved him in Charlotte. We're gonna love him not only because he's from New York, but because of just his personality. And you know, as Julito also mentioned earlier, like there's nights where he can take a backseat and say, "All right, man, go cook." He'll let Julius cook. He doesn't need the ball all the time. And I think understand that he's injured, that he's at point of his career where he's going to be that mentor, a leader. You know, he's still going to give you buckets, but he's going to organize the offense. He's going to do those things and just take that pressure off Julius so Julius doesn't have to do it every single night. And also for Julius, like he's got Evan Fournier who can also do some playmaking. RJ Barrett, if RJ Barrett takes another step forward this season, he should be able to do a little bit more playmaking that we saw. You know, not just giving Mitch the Gotham lob, but also finding other guys. And we saw there were nights that RJ did it last season. There were like where he would just find guys. So I think for Randle this season, as long as he plays his game, knowing that he's now got the team around him that he needed, he has the shooters. Mitch is going to help him grab the boards. I think he's ready to go for this season. We're going to see a more relaxed and a more ready Julius than what we did last season. And to talk about, just so that everyone, Julito, I don't know if you know this, but I'm blocked by Julius Randle, so I don't even know what he's saying. I'm completely blocked.
That's right.
Because
you offended him. You offended him, Al.
I did. I was harsh. I was really harsh. Look, man.
Thank God that my takes didn't hit Twitter. I think Julius Randle would have sent some people at me. Because the way I felt about Julius, man. So Alex, listen. Let's get you out of lockup, man. Let's get you. Free Alex out the chain gang, man.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he blocked a lot of people. He hasn't blocked me yet. He has not blocked me yet. But he did block Alex, man.
Damn, Alex.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Look, man, I was making a lot of Apple turnover jokes, a lot of too many spinning jokes. Man.
Oh, the spin jokes. Oh yeah,
the spin jokes were just too much, man. It was just too much.
The spin jokes, man, absolutely hilarious. You know, I'll say again, last year, you know, to no surprise, it was a revelation, man, for me just watching this guy, because I felt like the last year's version of Julius Randle was the guy I expected us to get when we first signed him. But the questions that I had when he came in the first year was, can he continue to shoot the three ball as like he did in his last year with the Pelicans, and can he be a playmaker for this team? And the first year, it was a disaster on both ends. Now, is that a Fizdale thing? Is that a Julius responding to the pressure? I think it could have been a mix of both. The roster composition, you know, Mook was kind of the primary go-to guy as well. So I think it was a little bit of a combination of those things. But this past season, he was ridiculous. He was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, forget the shot for a second, but 27% assist percentage. When we talk about playmaking, he was in the 97th percentile in assist percentage. Wow. 88th percentile in assist to usage. So, you know, Julito earlier, you talked about efficiency. He's moving the ball. He's efficient with the ball. And then you tack on the three-point shot. His arsenal was like, it was really Melo-esque at some stretches, man. So watching this guy operate on the offensive end last season, it was really Melo-esque, because I was shocked to see him, you know, get a lot of those shots off. Now, next season, you're putting fans in the seats, you're giving teams a chance to adjust to see what you know, the player that he's become. How does he adjust to that? Do I see the numbers, you know, tapering off a little bit? I don't think it'll be because of performance, like his own performance, like getting in between his head. I think if the numbers do taper down a little bit, I think it'll be a result of having that help. You know, Kemba, you know, dominating the ball a little bit. Fournier putting the ball on the floor and scoring. RJ scoring a bit more. So I think his numbers may come down as a result of the help that he's getting, where he doesn't have to do everything. And as Julito said, now you can trust you're, you know, 4 out of your starting 5 for the most part to go get their own and not have to, you know, put everything on him. So I think if the numbers do go down, it'll be a result of help. But, you know, if you look at his career arc, his trajectory, he's gotten better every year. And you see the workout videos, not to get hype over those, but the overall theme is he's putting in the work. You know, he just signed for the bag. He's putting in the work. He's in Dallas. He's in LA. He's in New York. He's with Brickley. He's with Top. You know, he's looking cut. You know, looking very cut up out there. And so you could tell he's hungry. You could tell the playoff embarrassment is weighing on him. And again, he wants to be the guy for this team. So I think Julius is, like Julito said, I think he'll be a lot more relaxed. And I think he's going to have another good year, man. Couple areas where, I'd like to see him improve on is just, again, attacking the rim more. Attacking the rim a lot more and finishing more there. I think last season, if we looked at a shot mix, I believe 50% came from the mid-range, about 23% from three, 27% from three, and then 23% at the rim. I still think he has a size and agility to attack at will and get some more easier buckets, high percent, easier buckets. Yeah. And then he only finished at 59%. He finished 16th percentile shots at the rim. So along with RJ, if we're going to have the spacing with the floors is going to be a little bit more open, we want to finish a bit better at the rim. And so I think that's an area where I'd like to see him improve on. And overall play calling, I like to see them get him easier shots, where it's not just, creating for yourself. Run some pick and roll with Kemba, more pick and roll with Derrick Rose, pick and pop. Utilize, Julius's strengths, shooting out of the mid-range, just getting him some easier buckets within the flow and rhythm of the offense. I think that'll keep him fresh in games for sure. But, looking forward to year 3 of Julius in the Knicks uniform, man, because last year he was electric for us.
Yeah. An eye-opener for me, CP, was that Hawks series where they were truly able to sag off of Julius and, sag off of whatever player was around Julius in such a way that ultimately every time Julius had the ball in that series, he was triple teamed or double teamed, right? And just the fact that we got guys like Kemba, like Fournier, just surrounding him, you can't sag off of Fournier. You can't sag off of Kemba. So now Julius essentially will play one-on-one every possession. And I think with the Julius we saw last year and now going into this year, Julius on a one-on-one is dangerous. And now we don't have to worry about these guys sagging off. The Atlanta Hawks can't sag off of us. Yeah. And they can't sag off of Julius, man. And I think that's going to be a game changer for him, for this team. And I truly think that is going to take us to a next level. When you're playing against a point guard that will not give you anything on the offensive end for the most part,
right?
it's you have the game plan every year, every game. Excuse me, you have the game plan against us.
Yeah,
our offense was stagnant. It stalled. It was a half-court offense that just wouldn't work at times. But thank God we came. We started hitting that 3-point towards the middle and the end of the season. But now, we will, and I talked to Alex about it, we won't start every single game down 10 points in the first quarter. And that alone, it will be the game changer for us because it's exhausting to always play catch-up every possession, every game. Now, there'll be times where I can see us starting, going into the second quarters and into the halves up 10, up 15 possibly, right? And that alone will change the dynamic for Julius's game and for us as the Knicks in a whole.
Yep,
those
absolutely.
Really great points.
Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, no, those are really great points. And to add on to your pick and roll with Julius, CP, I think Julito hit it. Like when you have a point guard who can't score, and what do you expect to do in the pick and roll? With no jumper whatsoever. So I think this season we should definitely see it, especially with Kemba, and even if you want to use Evan Fournier, and honestly, I think they should even try RJ and Julius in a little bit of a pick and roll too. I think really bully ball with those two guys.
Yeah.
Those guys can now hit the mid range. All those guys can hit the 3-point shot. The question is, will they all be able to finish? But that's the big question. But I think now you can do a pick and roll with Julius. Also, since he doesn't have to be the primary initiator all the time, and you have other guys who can bring the bring the ball up as well. We should definitely be able to see some pick and roll with Julius now.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Led the league with that baseline mid range. Led the league in efficiency there. And a couple underrated aspects of his game. He did receive 4 votes for second team all defense in the NBA, and a couple of notable stats amongst power forwards. He was number 3 out of the top 5 in terms of lowest field goal percentage on isolations, minimum 50 shots faced. Opponents shot 28.4% on him in isolation. Rashawn Holmes was 1, Kyle Anderson 2, Julius Randle 3. They put Justin Holiday in there, and then Draymond Green 5. So,
yo, CP, people laughed at me when I said Julius Randle. I won't say he's an elite defender, but he's a very good defender. People laughed at me.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's funny, man. Julius Randle played a huge part in the Knicks defense being good last season. It's just what it is, man. And I think now that we have Mitch coming back, I think it's gonna help us so much in that front court, man. And listen, man, Julius is gonna shine on the defensive end this year. I really believe that.
Yep.
And it's all contingent on Mitch staying healthy. But I truly don't see Mitch. Not gonna what I don't see Mitch getting any catastrophic injury this season. So I think Julius is going to do amazing on the defensive end for us.
The durability's been a plus for him. Outside of his rookie year when he broke his leg, he's been fairly durable and reliable for us. And I think you gotta factor that into consideration as well. And that stat in terms of lowest field goal percentage isolations, that was all positions. So Julius finished 3rd in all positions, and then also he finished in the top 5. He was actually tied with Bam Adebayo in terms of lowest field goal percentage on post-ups. Minimum 35 shots faced. Number 1 was Rudy Gobert, 31.8%. Tied for 2 is Randle and Bam, 34.8%. 4th is James Harden, 36.1%. And 5th, Steven Adams, 36.2%. So Julius at the top of the league in terms of post defense and isolation. So two-way player for us, man. Two-way player.
I always go back to thinking about that Brooklyn Nets game where Julius got switched onto Kyrie and he was matching him like step for step. I was just so impressed for a guy his stature just to keep up with Kyrie, one of the most shiftiest point guards in the league. That says a lot about Julius's footwork, the training he had to do to get to that type of level, and the defensive intensity that he brings. So it's not surprising. I mean, Julius is also a big dude in the paint. Like he was handling Andre Drummond pretty well when we played the Cavs. Like he doesn't get bullied around that easily. He actually does the bullying, which is what's awesome about Julius. I think that's where you're starting to see the maturity in Julius and just understanding his own body and understanding his own game.
Understand where the advantages are.
Julius played well against Anthony Davis when we played the Lakers.
Oh, absolutely.
In LA.
In LA, man, he played well against him, man. Julius is a good defender, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's for sure. And so, yes, we know he's got to shake the playoff demon. Everybody's going to be watching for that, and rightfully so. It's understandable. Heavy's the head that wears the crown. He is the king of the squad. He's the king of the city right now. So that's going to be left to be seen. And also, as the season, progresses, where do they go in crunch time? How does he execute in crunch time? We know that was one area where he faltered a lot on the big stage. We saw the Nets game, couple others where, I didn't like the shot selection. A lot of times it was just, ISO and take a tough mid-range shot. I didn't necessarily like that. So I want to see how he adjusts, how Tibbs adjusts in terms of the play calling. And if they do put it in his hands in crunch time, can he deliver? I think that's going to be the biggest question marks for Julius going into next season.
Right. And somebody in the chat brought up Julius versus Sabonis too.
Yeah.
Sabonis is a little man against Julius. You can't do. Come on, man. Julius will turn up for us this season, but I love the trajectory of his defensive play.
Yeah. No question, man. I'm showing the highlights of the Dallas game. Remember the Dallas game where he turned up?
Yes.
beasted on Dallas, man. He was just in his bag. They had no answers for him in that game against the Mavs. He had an incredible regular season, and you know that's why I know when people want to trash on him for the playoffs. Listen, the regular season still counts for something. And like I said, this team is a lottery team without him. So you got to give some credit where it's due. He was an absolute monster for this team, night in and night out. Rarely took a night off, if any. And, he got us where we needed to be. Now we need help. Obviously, it's not a one-man show. He's not LeBron James. He's not a game changer in that regard. To me, he's probably the third best player on a championship team, but it is what it is. Right now, it's still his team. They got him some reinforcements, and let's see what happens.
I mean, he only missed one game last season.
Yeah, only missed one game.
Only missed one game. And you need to play good during the regular season to make the playoffs, so you can't hold that much of a gripe over him.
So
it's just hilarious to me. I know you will move on,
no,
CP, but it's just so funny to me the difference in last year at this time. When we were saying about Julius Randle.
Oh, we ready to get him up out of town. First thing smoking.
I was listening to KnicksFanTV, and every caller was like, "All right, so what day we y'all think we getting Julius out of town? Do you think it's game 2,
we
game
gotta
10?
Get him up out of here."
And now we're like, "Yo, you gonna tell Julius was like, he the king of New York right now, man. Like Fat Joe said, man." Yeah, and I love it, man.
Yeah.
Remember that Buddy Hield and for Julius Randle trade that was earlier last year?
That was a cold take from all of us, y'all. That was a cold take from all of us.
That was tough, man. That was tough. But again, you know what it was? It's coming off the heels of the whole Porzingis thing. You know, at the time, losing him. Not getting the free agents that we wanted, and then seeing Julius struggle, it was just like, yo, get this guy out of here, man. Like, it was tough to take. It was tough to take, but he certainly rebounded, and he's embraced the city. That's an important thing, man. He's embraced the city. He's learning what it takes to be a Knick in this new generation. A lot different than the 90s. But, I give him credit for that too, man.
Yeah. I sat when I go to the games, I usually sit a few seats up from Kaiden, his son. And that kid knows he's really watching the game. Like, to be, I believe he was 4 or 5 years old. Like, he knows the game. Like when, you know what I mean? And it's super cool to see, man. I love the story of his family and his wife, and just what he brings to New York, man. Like you just said, Alex, that he's embraced the city, and I think we need guys that it will become a New York Knick, not just play for the New York Knicks, right? And I think he's going to change the game for us this season and moving forward. And he re-signed with us, man. He took a pay cut. So I'm excited because he knows something we don't know, right? Take a pay cut in probably one of your best seasons, not probably, in your best season of your career for a team that had the money to give you more. That means there's something brewing in the pot. So I'm excited to see what comes of that as well.
Yeah, definitely shows trust and synergy within the front office, man. So we'll see where that leads. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. If you guys want to call in, talk Julius, Mitch, Fournier, Grimes, give us a call, 657-383-1509, or tap in via the KnicksFanTV Discord. CP Alex Rotaro's here, special guest Julito McCullum in the building. Great show so far, fellas. Definitely, Julito. Definitely appreciate the time. But I want to turn to pay homage and pay tribute to a guy that you knew well, worked with, a New Yorker, a Knicks fan as well, and tragically passed away this past week, man. And that was Michael K. Williams. Great actor, absolutely great actor, and from what you read from many of the tributes, a great person as well. How do you reflect on his passing, and what did he mean to you?
Yeah. So this is the first time I'm talking about it since his passing, and I'm glad I'm doing it on your platform. So thank you for the opportunity, CP. And the first day I stepped foot on the set of The Wire, I was nervous. I was a young kid, 15 years old, and I didn't know what I was stepping into, and I didn't think that I was able to do what was asked of me. And the very first person I met was Michael K. Williams. And I was nervous because this is, Omar, right, from the show. And I only saw him being this shotgun toting, maniac, right? Like this Robin Hood of the show. And I was I'm meeting him in person. I'm 15. I'm like, I'm petrified,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
he was one of the nicest people I had ever met. The moment I met him, that smile, it just lit the room up. Automatically he let me know and had me feel that I was safe.
Mm.
And that my fault. He made me feel a part, and that's just who Michael was, man. Michael, you can look at all of his characters, and he played all of these like menacing, kind of grueling characters, but he was probably one of the nicest people you ever meet in your life. He went and, Michael would give you the shirt off his back. You know what I mean? Michael wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, and that's because he just didn't want to harm people because he had been through so much harm in his life. And when I heard that he passed, CP, it hit me, and I didn't, so I would see Mike a lot because our like meeting spot was in Knicks games. You guys know that Michael was at probably every Knicks game that he could possibly be at. Mike Breen is a huge fan of the show. And if I wasn't at the game, if Mike was at the game, Mike Breen made sure to say, "We got Michael K. Williams."
He would always say, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what, he was a staple. He was actually turning into like the voice of the team. He was the voice of that, I believe the big commercial to start the season.
The playoff commercial, yep.
Yeah, you're right. Excuse me. The playoff commercial. He was the voice of it. And that's what it was. Michael was the voice for so many people, coming from Brooklyn, coming from, we grew up maybe 5 minutes away from each other. He grew up in Vanderveer Projects. I grew up in Linwood Projects in the East Flatbush. And he was the voice for a lot of people who needed to be heard. And Michael was just that guy who made sure that he did his part to push the narrative that we are all human, that we are all special, that we are all people who need to be heard. And I'm gonna miss him. Actually in the morning I'm going to his memorial service. And it's just a private service for friends and family. But I never would have thought in a million years I would go to Michael K. Williams, homegoing service. Because to me, I know that we all have a date, but to me, he was immortal because there are some people on this planet you just like when Kobe passed, right?
Yeah.
You just don't see them ever leaving, man. And I'm sorry if I'm like going on.
No, man, take your time. Take your time, bro. Take your time, man.
Yeah.
You got the floor, bro.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna miss him. He was more than an actor. He didn't act as people. He became characters. He became human beings, right? If you watch him as Omar on The Wire, like just think about it. That character shouldn't have been loved as much as he loved. He was loved. He shouldn't have been. Like if you ask people who their favorite character on The Wire, 9 times out of 10 they will say Omar. And I don't know if David Simon, when he wrote that role, he thought like this character would be this. But that's all because of who Michael K. Williams was as a person, man. And, I just listen, man, if you're going through something out there, if you feel alone, there's a lot of, this is why I'm a Knicks fan, CP Alex. I love the team. I love what we are able to do, and I love rooting for basketball because I'm a diehard basketball fan. But I think the reason I'm like a real diehard Knicks fan is because like when I'm in the streets, and I see people wear the orange and blue, when I'm at the games and people stop me or I stop people, it's always that common thread. And that common thread is that we in this together. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of what, like, I was a Knicks fan 10 years ago when, like, I don't know if I told Alex or Macri and those guys, Andrew and those guys, but there was a time where I went to like a Knicks game. I went to like 18 straight home games and we lost every single one. But you couldn't tell that in the building because we was like, we in this, y'all. We family. Yeah, our front office is trash. Yeah, we got Alex Chavez and like these guys. But like, yo, we family. You know what I mean? Like, we in this. And I think that's what this team means to me. And I think that's what the team meant to Michael. And I think that's what we all mean to each other in this Knicks community. So if you're going through something, man, and you know, I'm sure CP, you help so many people, just like people, you know, probably going through depression, going through a lot, going through trauma, and they tune into you guys' shows, even your show, Alex, you know, Knicks, Jets, and etc. Like, they'll tune into you guys' show and say, like, I feel like I'm a part of something. And sometimes people need that, you know, and I'm sure Michael needed that. And there's a lot of people who need that, you know, and I needed that. Even when I found you all, you know, when I found the Knicks community, I was like, oh, I'm not alone. For real, for real. It's one thing to say that you see each other at games, but to see a whole community and message boards and all of this shit, man, like, it's special, man. So, you know, I'm just grateful that we have spaces like this. And if you're going through something, y'all reach out. You know what I mean? Like, reach out to people you see in the comments, and, you know, reach out to your family, reach out to people, speak up. And I know it may be hard, but speak up. If you're going through, you know, substance abuse, if you're going through, you know, mental health issues, and you feel like you're alone, you're not. You're not. And I'm sure Michael knew he was loved, but he never understood he was loved. And I think that's why the substance abuse continued. So I just pray that he's no longer alone and he no longer feels alone. And I hope, you know, from above, he's looking down and seeing all the love that's been poured on him, man, from, you know, all the Knicks community, from the fans, the supporters, from so many people, you know, showing him so much love. And I hope he sees it. And, you know, and if you're going through something, y'all, like, just know you're not alone. But yeah, that's, you know, rest in peace, Michael K. Williams, diehard Knicks fan at every game, talking almost as loud as Tracy Morgan. You can't talk louder than Tracy at a game. I don't know if y'all ever heard. You can probably hear Tracy from the TV.
Yeah, 100%. He's right next to the table.
And Mike is right there next to him, you know, at times talking just as loud. And that's what Mike was, man. So rest in peace to Michael K. Williams. I pray that his family is okay. And I pray, you know, everybody. And thank you all for supporting him. Please speak his name. You know, keep him in your memories when you go and do what you do, because if you needed to look at anybody's life and say, I think I need a motivation, go look at Michael K's story, go read it up, go YouTube it, because you can hear him speak about himself. But, you know, be motivated and, you know, do something if you can. But yeah, rest in peace, Michael K. Williams.
Absolutely, man. Very, very well said. And a couple more questions. You had mentioned the role that he played with Omar, and maybe the creators of the show never expecting that character to be almost larger than life. And it's so interesting when you look at the talent that he was, when you look at his role as Omar and as Chalky White in Boardwalk Empire. That was one of my favorite shows. You know, these are iconic roles, and he wasn't even the leading guy for those shows.
Come on, talk about it, man. Just that's a testament of you. Is not, to me, honestly, it wasn't even just about his acting. You know, it's some people who have been in things and their characters have lived for so long, but it's just because they just were such amazing actors. And yeah, he was an amazing actor, and he is an amazing actor. But I just think it was like what he brought to the authenticity of him, you know, of Michael K. The energy, the feeling. Like, Michael K., you would have really thought he was from Baltimore. Like, you know what I mean? And he was from Brooklyn, New York, right? But when he was in his Brooklyn space, when he did his Vice TV special, going to different, neighborhoods and speaking and shining light on those situations, you would have thought he was a philanthropist, right? You would have thought he was a journalist. And then when he played Chucky White on Boardwalk Empire, you would have thought he grew up in the Prohibition era, right? Like, it's just, you just would have, it's just the level of like what he brought to his any space he was in. Because he started as a dancer, and I don't know if y'all have been seeing the videos of Mike dancing, that have been going viral. But when he was a dancer, he just brought joy with his steps and his moves, and that's what Mike was, man. He brought himself to everything, and I think that's what was important about him being on this planet. And God had a better story and a better ending for him, but the story is not done, man. He's about to win this Emmy. He's nominated for an Emmy this year. He's about to win that for Lovecraft Country. And, his story is still being written. And I'm glad to say I was a very small part of it, but nonetheless, I was a part of it for sure.
For sure. And, the thing that really surprised me, and we saw it with Heath Ledger in terms of his passing and the impact that they said him playing the Joker had on him. But with Michael K. Williams, I was watching the interview with him and Tamron Hall, and he talked about the fact that it was hard for him to really come down off of the Omar character, because it was like the admiration that he was getting, the love that he was getting from people like Barack Obama, for example, he would refer to him as Omar. He was like, people would show me so much love, but they love Omar. But on the flip side, in reality, he's still a guy in terms of Michael K. Williams who, is an insecure guy that was battling his demons. And he said, playing that character really took a toll on him in terms of, the substances and things of that nature, because it was just really hard to separate the two.
Yeah. I think playing I only played my character on The Wire for a year, maybe a year and a half, give or take. He played that character for 4 to 5 years, 6 years, and that's I can imagine how tough that was, because honestly, there's bits of Naaman that lives in me still, you know what I mean? And, I think, his past life prior to being an actor and prior to being a dancer, I think it still had a huge effect on him. And, in talking to his friends and, and people that were super close, he never truly felt like he deserved the accolades he got. He never truly felt like he deserved all of the recognition he got. And it's just so sad to think that, because he did, and we all do, whether you're a big actor on an HBO show or, you're just out here running and gunning trying to make $1, you deserve whatever it is you have. You deserve it. You deserve love. You deserve friendship. You deserve happiness. You deserve these things. And whether, like I said, whether you're an actor on a show or not, I just hope you know that you're worthy, and you matter. And there's a lot of people who don't feel that way, and my heart breaks for them. But your heart is big enough to be put back together. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're big enough to figure it out. And if you still got air in your lungs, if you're still on this planet, man, keep pushing, and that's why, to tap it back into the Knicks, man, like, we've always kept pushing. You know what I mean? We keep pushing, and we had a season like we had last year because we didn't give up.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
It's your assistant. I've been waiting to hear.
It's on British assistant.
But yeah, man, we keep pushing, man. Keep pushing, man. Like, if you're a Knicks fan and you're listening to this, keep pushing, man. Like, I said it on Alex show, man, there's gonna be a time where people they can't laugh at us no more, man. They're not gonna be able to laugh at us. There'll gonna be a time when we have that parade down Fifth Ave, man, and you're gonna be like, I remember these idiots rooting for this team and 10 years ago, man. Nah, man, we keep pushing. And that's the story of a Knicks fan, a New Yorker. And I hope that people are going through things. I hope they share that same sentiment, man.
Well said, man. And last on Michael K. and his impact in terms of the overall impact of the show, The Wire. You know, I was reading an op-ed in the New York Times that the creator, David Simon, had penned in today's edition, and he spoke about his early interactions with him in terms of for season 2. He said that, you know, Michael K had come into the trailer and was really questioning the direction of that season in terms of, I guess, you know, because they were going to focus more on the port of Baltimore and, you know, kind of move away from the inner city and focus more on, you know, the organized crime and different aspects of Baltimore. Yes, still focusing on the corruption, but from different institutions. And, you know, Michael K is concerned that, you know, it was kind of moving away from, you know, focusing on, you know, an all-black audience. And what was the message? Where was it going? And he said that it became a ritual that before each season that they would have that meeting in terms of, okay, what is our message? What are we trying to say this season? What are we trying to impart? And David Simon was saying how he really valued that in Michael K. Williams because he ultimately, you know, took on the show not just from his character, but really embraced the whole story, the whole journey of the show, and really became an evangelist for that message of the, you know, the political and the societal, the socioeconomic issues in his interviews, and really, you know, putting that out there on the forefront, a lot of those issues. What's your take on that?
Come on, man. That's that. If that doesn't show you, you know, the story of Michael K and the essence of who he was, the fact that he wanted to make sure that every season actually meant something and it wasn't just a TV show, it was more of a message. You know, that's just what it was, man. You know, when, you know, I spoke to David about it, and, you know, if we didn't have season 2 be what it was, there would have been no different from The Wire and, let's say, Law and Order, right? It would have been a cop show. And nothing against Law and Order, because I was on there a few times as well, but like, there's a difference in what we did and what cop shows do. You know, cop shows, they talk about a subject, a victim, a moment, a suspect, right? We talked about a system, and you know, the fact that Michael fought for, like, what are we speaking about here, like, right? Because I heard Mike say, like, you know, when season 2 hit, it felt like y'all, every time a black show was working, y'all take it away from us and give it. But, you know, the fact that David even cared enough about us as a culture to say, if I have to tell this story in season 2 so that every other season matters. Because if I don't give the landscape of the world, it'll just be about a drug show. Right. And that's not what it was. And Michael was more than that, right? And look, think about it, y'all. Like, a guy who was dealing with substance abuse, wanting to be on something more than a drug show, because he knew what it was doing to him, most likely. And I don't want to speak for him, but I could just think and guess, right? Like, he knew what it was probably doing to him, and he wanted to tell a different story, and that's what he did. And come on, man, Mike is special, man. He is special. I'm not gonna say was, because he's still with us, right? He is special, you know. And I think, you know, someone said in the comments that Mike deserves, you know, a tribute at the Garden, man. He deserves a video, a montage, maybe even, right? He deserves that because he was one of us, you know. And even if they don't do it, right, because there's so much going on, big season, but like, I think he deserves the act. What you're doing here, he deserves it. You know what I mean? Just giving me a time to talk about him. He deserves this, and I hope we just keep speaking his name and talking about him.
Yeah, I hope so. I think they will. But if not, you know, this platform could certainly serve as one, man, because, you know, you knew him well, and you know, got a chance to work with him and be inspired by him. So I definitely appreciate, you know, you sharing those sentiments, man. And truly tragic situation, but we certainly, you know, keep his family, lift his family up, and his friends as well, man. So thanks again for sharing those thoughts.
Anytime, my brother.
All right, man. I think, this was a great show. Great job, Al. Great job, Julito. Shout out Boston Nick. Boston Nick sent a super chat. He says, we lost a good one, y'all. Knicks family. Very grateful for Julito being on the show to share how the great Michael K. Williams was was offset. Hopefully, in time, we'll hear some funny stories with him as well. So shout out Boston Nick for the super chat. Definitely appreciate that. Let me get my outro music going here. Couple more weeks until Knicks training camp. We are here already.
Oh man, yo, I just want to be a fly in that wall, man. Like training camp is about to be lit, bro.
Training camp is upon us, man. Training camp is upon us. But yeah, Julito, thanks again. Let the people know where they can find you and any upcoming projects you want to let the people know about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First off, to CP, Alex, man, thank you both for allowing me to be on y'all platforms. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of KnicksFanTV. Watch every episode. Thank you for keeping the message going and keeping us, alive out in these streets, man. Y'all do an amazing job at it. And, find me everywhere. I am Julito, Julito. The H is silent. I am Julito on all social media platforms. Check out my podcast here on YouTube, Random Thoughts with Julito. We are on a hiatus, but we will be back in the fall, come season 2. And I got a lot coming out, new movies, man, new TV shows, thinking about even revamping my podcast and, not making it a Nick podcast, but because what y'all do is unmatched, right? I don't know if I can do this every game or not, right? So I'm gonna just call in, I'm gonna continue calling in, and when CP let me on, I'm gonna continue to support y'all because y'all killing it, but maybe gear more towards sports or, in a different direction, but thank you for what y'all do, man. Shout out to all the other Nick creators out here that's popping, that's running it, that's giving, us Nick fans, it's just something to talk about, a space to thrive, right? So shout out to all of you. And listen, more to come real soon, man. It's gonna be a good year for us. Let's go Knicks. I know y'all be watching, so shout out to the Knicks team. You know what I mean? Because they be watching. But I hope I'll come back anytime you need me. CP. Shout out to CK and Ashley as well. You know what I mean? I had a great time hearing y'all this season, man. Y'all, I look forward to y'all after every game, and I never got to meet the homie, but shout out to the closer.
Jay Boogie.
Jay Boogie. Shout out to
man.
Jay Boogie and all that. You know what I mean? So it's been a pleasure, man, and I can't wait to come back.
Absolutely, man. Great to have you, and this won't be the last time for sure, man. So looking forward to future collabs, man. Al, go ahead and sign out, bro.
Lito, it's good getting to see you again, my man. My condolences to you, and my condolences to the family and friends of Michael K. Williams, first and foremost. CP, as you always know, man, always love chopping up Knicks with you, as well as Julito. But for everyone out there, salute to Knicks Nation. Make sure to go check out KnicksFanTV.com, where you can find my writing. You can find everyone else's writing over there. We're doing some great work. Please make sure to go check it out. And if you want to listen to me and my buddy John on our own podcast, go make sure to check out Knicks, Jets, etc., part of the Fansided Minute Media Network. We're the exclusive Knicks and exclusive Jets podcast for Minute Media and Fansided. So if you want some of your coverage there, make sure to go check us out.
Yes, sir. Great job as usual, fellas. And salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Let's get that like button up. Smash the YouTube algorithm for tonight, because we had a great show, great guests, and an overall great panel. And yeah, man, we wrapped up our play expectations, but the season preview series will continue. We'll be back Wednesday night, so make sure you guys tap in and tune in. And once again, remember, this show is presented by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, enter promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Like I said, go get that Lawnmower 4.0 and check out their other products. And yeah, once again, great.